Hey guys, we're back again with Nick the Coralil and Joss Aguirre. We're talking today about how to actually make money from your business and where the value in a business is. So, interesting topic that we can go much deeper in.
Hi everyone. So where's the value in your business, I guess, or how you make money in your business is when you sell it, is probably the short answer. The other answer is obviously to make a ton of cash while you own it when you know that there is no exit. So that's another way of doing it. But provided you're investing that money on the side somewhere, for example, buying a real estate portfolio or something, some other investments on the side, that would be the other way of doing it. So you know that you're not going to get a terminal value. There's no end point as such where you're able to sell this thing. Because you're just going to close it down. So I suppose an example would be, an artist or something. And so you make a lot of money from your art, but or at least the doing of the art, or the photography or something. Generally speaking, there's no barrier to entry in photography. So I'm not really sure, unless you're a franchisor of sorts, whether one photographer can really sell that to somebody else. Outside of being someone who stitched up some really large corporates and they're only going to call you. But once again, it's a personal relationship, right? So it's the relationship that you're buying. So now that person, because he's not going to get a terminal, it's not like he's going to get a 10 multiple or 20 multiple of his profit to sell that thing. He really needs to make a lot of that money up front, or he just should make it while he's in his prime.
Yeah. So really, you want to take that and invest into other streams or find ways to have it multiply itself, so you're actually creating long-term value for yourself in income.
Correct. Yeah. So rather than saying I'm reinvesting in my business and one day I'm going to get terminal value out of that, you're saying I'm just using this whatever business asset I've got at the moment as a way to extract the money, but then I'm going to get the growth of the money from somewhere else. So you're using your current business as a way to just spin off the money, but itself won't have any value. So say for example, if you're running an agency or a SaaS or whatever, then it makes a lot of sense not to start extracting a lot of money out in the early days and saying, I'm going to go buy a real estate portfolio. Well, if that's the case, then why did you bother with the SaaS?
It's a cash-producing asset that allows you to invest that in other more passive, I guess more passive in streams.
Yeah, or it could be active, but it's not active from your perspective.
Yeah. Okay.
So somebody else is working the business, like, I don't know, maybe a friend who's just started a new business of some sort and you want to chip in to get a piece of the action, then you could do that. So that's the other way. So I suppose we could probably leave those guys out.
It's really moving from active earning
because that is an investing strategy, not necessarily a business strategy as such. Of course, still got to turn up and take the photographs and all that sort of stuff. But knowing what to do with that excess money turns you into an investor actually, and that's a podcast for another day.
We'll get back to that.
Yeah, that's right. We'll get back to that. So today, let's stay on the growth or the exit value thing. There's a few ways to exit. Let's talk about the main one, which is...
I guess we should rename this episode, really. It's about extracting maximum value from your business. So extract it whilst you're doing it, then extract it upon exit.
Yeah, correct. And so that's where the choice always ends up being is how much do you invest in versus how much do you take out. If you see a lot of growth potential, then obviously you invest in. But if you think that, I'm kind of capped out and there's not really not much to grow, at that point you can start, harvesting the business in the sense that there's no need to invest any more in. It's nice and stable. It's giving you, let's say $2 million a year. You take some of that money and you start buying yourself other assets, or you stay relatively liquid and wait for an opportunity to turn up so you can invest into, which is kind of like the whole acquisition of buying of stuff comes into it. And that's basically the primary way of doing it. Now, how much? Not all. Okay, so basically two ways you're going to get the exit. The first one is obviously you create a business making a lot of money, so someone is going to pay you a multiple of the profit, right? That's one way, and of course the higher the multiple is going to dictate on how fast it's growing. So if 1 year you did $500,000, the next year you did 1.5, the third year you did 5.5, then investors are going to be like, well, what's the growth potential? What's the story here? And can you continue? Can you do 10 next year? And if the story exists, then you could extract yourself a reasonably good multiple. On the other hand, you have those businesses that are not growing by, they're not doing 2x, 3x of profit per year. They're just growing by 5%, 10%, which is still a very respectable growth. But there's a lot of stability about the earnings, and you're also going to get a nice multiple for that. Not as high as the first example, but nevertheless, it's worth something. And how much it's going to be worth will be dictated on, like barriers to entry and how hard it is to replicate you. Do you have some supply agreements or customer agreements that really you've stitched up and no one else can get it? Maybe you've got a government contract that's going to pay you for 25 years. So all those kind of the qualitative aspect of why this is making money comes into it, and you'll get a multiple based on how secure that is. So I guess let's look at an example. An e-commerce business is not very secure because there's no barriers to entry. There's thousands of players coming in, thousands of players coming out. Anyone can go buy a product from China. That's not to say that they can't be profitable, but they could be profitable once you've reached a certain size. So that's where you're becoming like an Amazon or a Zappos or something.
Amazon,
correct, because you're a brand that automatically is top of mind and brings people to your site to go buy shoes, books, whatever it be. That's a little bit different to someone starting out and only making $500,000 a year in something like, I don't know, let's say pet food. And let's say, for argument's sake, if pet food is let's say it's a $20 million market in Australia. I don't quite know how big it is, but let's assume it's $20 million a year, and you're only getting, let's say 300,000 or 400,000. Really, there's not much to gain, even though it may be a reasonably profitable business, because it's going to be too hard for you to become the big dog, so to speak, in the
the market potential is too small, and you're not growing fast enough to really
correct. Or be
a major concern.
Well, yeah. So there's no barriers to entry is a very is a very powerful thing, actually. It can wipe you out, and if you've got it, then it'll protect you.
So if you're working in a highly regulated space and you're one of the few people that are able to operate,
like a bank. All right, it's like as an Aussie bank, especially because they're never going to be a number 5. So it's some sort of space where, or if you're like, for example, if you're a power distribution company, you're effectively a utility, and there's no way for someone to come and eat your lunch, because what are they going to do? Build more poles and cable or whatever, the wires next to yours? No, it's just really there's nothing to gain out of it. So that's where you have those that sort of regulated monopoly is gonna give a valuation of sorts, and that comes from the fact that their earnings are not volatile.
So outside those kind of, I guess, rare situations where you're in a position to go into a developing country and lay down the infrastructure.
Yeah, so that's that. Yeah, I guess if you stitch a deal with, I don't know, let's say the Cambodian government or something, and they're opening up and they've given you the contract to build the roads for the next 20 years, you know what? Yeah, you could, I'm sure you can easily find someone to fund that. Provided the contract's been reasonably tightly done. So they are basically the main factors to dictate at the macro level, the big picture stuff. Then if you go into the company-specific stuff, then obviously a lot of factors come into play. For example, the culture of the organization, which will turn up in potentially higher profitability. So because your customer service is really good, or your culture of the organization is really good, as a result, your customer service is really good. As a result, your repeat business is very good, and that's going to show up in the lifetime value of the per client, and that's then going to reflect in the profit numbers at some point. So that's once again, I think we spoke about this in our first podcast, with the connection between the analytics
numbers and
the real business. Yeah, and this is the kind of going back to the same link, where the all the good stuff you do in the business at some point shows up in the numbers. Now, the important thing to realize, especially for the online guys, is is sometimes there's a leg effect. So you could invest in technology. So for argument's sake, let's say if you are an e-com retailer and you've got 10,000 SKUs, all right? Wild example, which is a stock keeping unit, number of things you have in your warehouse. Now that's a nightmare to manage actually, because you've got seasonal factors, you've got all kinds of stuff. You've got probably lots of dead moving stock. But if you've invested in technology, and in 2, 3, 5 years from the point where you started grabbing all the data, you'd start getting much more confidence in the ability to predict, or your inventory forecasting becomes much more accurate. It's never 100%, but it becomes more accurate than not. So, like in the case of I did pharmaceutical distribution for a while, and you could see June, July, August, your cough products and antibiotics and all that sort of stuff will start consuming more of the kind of winter, the cold and flu sort of products. Come summer, you end up selling more of the flip-flops and whatever else, sun tanning and sunblock and all that sort of stuff. And so you start seeing those things inside your data, but you need about 2-3 years of data to be able to see that, because 1 year's data is not going to give you that. And if you're only using 1 year's data, then you'll extrapolate. So say for example, we were selling some sort of cough and flu product, and we said, you know what, let's look at the last 3 months average, and then we'll buy that much for the next 3 months. Well, if you're putting an order in September and you're looking at June, July, August, you'd over order till probably the next year, because at that point is when the demand's going to taper off. But you can't see that with only 3 months data or even 1 year's data. You need to get a few years data to be able to see that pattern of it, right? Yeah, that pattern of seasonality. It takes a while for you to see seasonality in your data, and so that's going to take a while. And of course, there's trends as well. So you have seasonal. So you can easily have products where they're seasonal and they're trending, and so then it becomes a little bit of a cat and mouse game to work out. How do you invest in inventory for that? So to go back to the question of valuations, yeah. So of why you're building your business, it's end of the day to get some sort of exit. Now the exit may be you build something big, and as a result you're gonna get a nice payday. The other one to look at is excuse me, is that not always will you have a business that is profitable that still has a very high exit. So let's look at, and maybe not exit, very small valuation. So let's say something like, I don't know, let's say Uber right now. Right? Uber's never made any money. In fact, they're losing, I think, $2 billion a quarter or whatever. It's the biggest loss-making company ever in history, or something to that effect. But it's got a reasonably good valuation. Similarly, you've got Tesla. I don't think they've ever made any money. Amazon for many years did make much either.
until they decided to, and it just was ridiculous. Correct,
yeah. And so the buyers of the business, or the investors, or the person running it, they're aware of these things, that it takes a while to build the capability, and if you try and hit profit really early, so it's a conscious decision, and the losses are being made knowingly. It's not like they're stupid or something, It's often in casual conversations you hear things like, I can't believe they're not making money. No, it's not like they're dumb. No, it's not. It's they know what they're doing, and the opportunity cost of trying to drive a profit today means a massive loss of valuation later. That's what it is, and that's why they're comfortable making losses up front. Now, you need to be careful that you're not using this as an excuse to burn money, because that's where your mind will play tricks on you, where you could be making massive losses and you're kind of justifying it. But I'm investing and one day it's going to turn around. That question, I guess you'll never know until after the fact of whether that happened or not. And there's a lot of unpredictability about these things. Just because you're investing and the idea may be good and your board or whoever your advisors are and everyone's on the same page, and you could still end up going nowhere. That's just the risk you take. That's why that's the business, and there's no way around that one. So in order to get the good valuation, I think before we got on, you were talking about there's a report that I wrote some years ago about the 15 things to look for. And it's the stuff that we've all heard before, your systems and processes, where your financials are done on time, your analytics are done, your supply agreements are in place, your customer agreements are in place, your employee agreements are in place, because with Australia's quite litigious in terms of bullying and not being able to hire properly and able to fire properly, all that sort of stuff. So, but they're more like micro factors that come into it, but they do play a part in the valuation, because it's going to be very difficult for you to be a good operator if all these things are sloppy.
Why don't we look at it from the point of view of an actual business? Let's say a cleaning business. How do we break that? Let's break it down for the audience. How we approach that?
Okay, so all right. Okay, so I guess a cleaning business. Okay, so let's say
let's say we're starting one today, and what do we need in place to exit in a few years' time?
Yep. Or let's say we were hired by someone to help him sell his business.
Okay.
Then the first thing you do is you do a financial review, and you make sure that the taxes have been filed, the financial reports have been done, like all the kind of like all the regulatory compliance stuff is taken care of. Almost always, at least in the small to medium size type businesses, maybe even large ones, that's really sloppy in most places. It's actually very sloppy, and so immediately there's holes everywhere. And so when it comes to the potential buyer coming to buy, he'll ask for your financials. And if there's holes in there, he'll just discount the price, because that's what you do. That's the job of the buyer.
Yeah.
Or the due diligence
is for.
Correct. Or his or her due diligence team would find holes everywhere, and then they use that as a bargaining chip to bring the price down. And so if you're quite sloppy with all this sort of stuff, then you're better off not selling it, actually, because they'll be like, yeah, I agree with your price, but I'm just going to pay you until a year or 2 years, because I don't know, what if this is material? And so if that's the case, like so the first thing you should do, like if we were helping someone sell, like you do a huge financial review and you find holes everywhere, then you know what, just back off. Just like, listen, you're not quite ready to sell yet. You need to go and fix up this stuff. So essentially what you do is you start from what the due diligence person is looking for. Mm-hmm. So there's like
checklist.
I'm sure that there's lots of checklists, actually. So that's essentially how it's done. It's based on a checklist sort of a process. And you take the checklist and you go, well, can you get an A+ in all of these from top to bottom? And don't sell until you get an A+. And so oftentimes what's going to happen is that means a massive restructure of the business, actually. So you're going to bring some tax structures in place. You're going to bring some new employees in place. You're going to bring, because that ends up being the catalyst for let's go fix it up, because there's no way I'm going to get the valuation that I think I'm going to get now, because there's too many glaring holes all over the place. So
even profitable, profitable,
I think sometimes this sort of stuff is seen with like with a lot of kind of almost like wow, like it's so cool, that kind of thing. But it's not. It's just it's a business is a product, and someone's going to buy it and someone's going to sell it, and essentially it's a little bit more risky because the numbers are bigger, and oftentimes almost always the buyer is at a disadvantage, because unless they know something about what's happening in the industry or some other external factor. But generally speaking, how will a buyer ever know as much as the seller does? I mean, it's just kind of common sense, right? Like, I mean, I know where the skeletons are in my business. You don't. And the due diligence process is about finding those out. And so if you run into a very smart seller, of course he won't be selling until he's gotten rid of all the garbage.
At least the upfront ones.
Yeah, exactly. The obvious stuff, yeah. But that often ends up being a good. But here's why everyone should say, how sellable am I today? Is because it allows you to clean up all this stuff. It really gets you to focus on kind of like working, I guess, on your business thing, and you really very quickly you'll realize, oh, hang on a second, my processes are not in place. I haven't done any documentation in years. We've got no idea how we buy inventory here. There's no process or system to do this. paying me 180 days after receiving an invoice, like all that stuff. That has to be really kind of clamped down. And just by doing that, you'll find that the cash flow improves, morale improves. Yeah, you're going to find some people who resist that, and so then that's a call for the owner to make as to what he wants to do with because this kind of change is difficult to do. Just like it just is because the lazy way of operating won't fly anymore.
There's more discipline, which not everyone's going to like
Correct.
with the existing culture.
And what's going to happen is oftentimes that it's the guy at the top that's going to have to kind of fire himself first, or in a lot of respects fire himself. So he really is going to have to step back and give somebody else the reins, because clearly he's not the guy for the job. Because if he was, then you wouldn't be in the mess, or you wouldn't be in that position to start with. And so almost always that's the best thing to do, actually, for the business, for the employees, and for himself when he finally gets a much nicer valuation or a higher valuation, is because if he doesn't step away, then these changes will never get done, or they'll get done much slower. Or if he wants to lead the charge, then it needs to accept a lot of personal responsibility to effect those changes, which is difficult. Because effectively what you're saying is like, hey, I'm the guy who screwed all this up. That's it's not an easy thing to an easy position to take. So that's what I think the owner is gonna have to do. But I think it's a great idea to if you're looking to sell, to start doing a review of how sellable are you. If you working with someone who's done all this sort of stuff before and work through the due diligence checklist, so to speak, and just as a heuristic, right? So it's not like physically go through the due diligence checklist. It's just a way of thinking about this stuff. That okay, well, if I can go through the 55 checkpoint list here, and everything ticks off properly, then we're good. Then as a result of that, everything else is in order. Because one of the things that they'll come in, they'll ask you for things like, I want your top 10 customers. I want what product mix they've been buying for the last 18 months, for example. And so that means that you need an ERP system, a reporting system that can pull the data out. So that ends up becoming, that's a question you're asking the business. Can you give me this data now if I want it? And most places won't be able to, because they'll generate on MYOB or something. And so you're going to find this holes everywhere. So now it's okay. Well, how do we close the gap? And either you get a much better market accounting system, or you get
resource
more
management.
employees.
Yeah,
correct. Or, some sort of ERP system. It's going to integrate everything. The other thing you often find in a lot of businesses is that you've got this siloed systems that have grown over time. So the warehouse guys use something that really doesn't talk much to the accounting stuff, and the accounting stuff doesn't talk much to some other third party system or payroll or something. And these are huge inefficiencies, and kind of like at some level, it works. It's functional, but it's inefficient because you're not quite seeing the value of what's going to happen when all your data is residing in the one place. I mean, that's why these big companies spend millions of dollars building a data warehouse. It's not because they like spending millions of dollars to build a data warehouse. It's because when you put these things together in the one place, and you can ask us questions of your data that goes beyond just your division or your department, you start getting insights about what's actually happening. And so you may want to ask yourself the same questions. And so oftentimes the biggest takeaway is going to be is you'll find out really fast the customers that are not making you money, the products or services or the offers that you have that are really not making you money, and then thirdly the suppliers through whom you're not making much money. And that's essentially it's a big three-way combo.
Looking at where your weaknesses are as a business, you mentioned things like key man syndrome. If you have one employee that knows all the knowledge, that's a big issue for your business.
Correct. And so what's going to happen, and maybe the business can't be bigger than that because it just doesn't have the scale to grow beyond that. And that is the key man risk, and that is the key man risk. And as a result, the price will get discounted. And there's just no way around that. But then the guy buying, he is buying knowing that he's the key man, or she's the key man, key woman risk now. So that's the yeah, like let's say if you're a little coffee shop and despite your best efforts, you've only been able to make, I don't know, let's say 600 grand a year. I mean, it's a bit silly to think that you're going to buy it and do 1.5 with it.
So, say example, you're in a country town that's literally all it can sustain, even
Correct.
with
Yeah.
the
Exactly.
loyalty retention.
I mean, yeah. You could run as many ads as you want. It's just not going to happen.
The same customers saying the same thing.
Yeah, because no one buys coffee after 3 o'clock, or something. You could say I'll open till 8 o'clock. Yeah, but the towns are dead. Everyone's gone home. And so there are physical limits to this stuff, and that doesn't mean it's not a business worth buying, but just know that what you're getting into.
It limits where you can grow to, unless you start acquiring other coffee shops in other locations, etc.
I suppose that is a strategy. Yeah, that is definitely something one could consider. But with no barriers to entry, all this sort of stuff.
I assume if that single business, that's pretty much if that single unit of business, you have got that barrier physically.
Correct. Yeah. And so that's essentially how one should think about where's the value here. Sloppiness gets discounted. That's just kind of that's what you do. I mean, shit, that's what I'd do. Sorry, because essentially what they're finding out is this is a risk in the numbers you're showing me. Like I can't take the numbers you're giving me at face value. And
really
I remember
taking the financials and seeing where that relates to the business and where it could be optimized to get better results, or where you might, if you
correct. Okay, so say for example, if we find a clinic business, and let's say it's making $300,000 a year, and this is after taking the owner's wages at market value, and like doing all the adjustments have to be done to get a proper number. And we go, okay, cool. You know what? We're talking. It's let's say we're negotiating down to, let's say, 2 times earnings. So it's a $600,000 business. But then he tells you, oh no, but you need to pay me $1 million because I make another, I don't know, 150 grand under the table or something. I got a cousin, or I got some customers who the restaurant guys who pay me cash. And that used to happen back in the old days a lot, right? Like this whole cash thing with retail businesses. And so then the question would be, how do you value that, right? And the right answer is, well, you can't, because unless you want to lie and cheat as well with the numbers. So and so that's where the disconnect ends up being, and then you're like, it's an impasse at that point. Because he'll probably want to get paid for the dodgy dollars, while you're well truly within your rights not to want to pay for it. Yeah, and I've advised a few family members in those sort of transactions where I'll be like, well, listen, you know what, that's really can't do that sort of stuff, so don't because at some point it's gonna bite you. So
it's really like there's the little stores that sell cash only type products, whilst they're making more profit on the front end. If they do want to sell their business eventually, it's
correct. So that's exactly right. Because a smart buyer won't. But having said that, the market is asymmetric, right? Information is not symmetrical. So not everybody values it like that. Some might be like, yeah, great. That's at least I'll be getting some tax-free dollars too. So, but that's not very smart. I don't think it's very smart.
No.
But then what? Here's the other issue, and it's so short-sighted. Actually, it's not funny. It's so short-sighted because how are you going to get employees now? How do you start growing? And that's once again goes back to the whole question of what holes do you have in your business? And if you're so that's the whole point of doing all this sort of stuff is you want to make sure you identify the holes and you fill them up. So that you end up getting a good valuation at exit. Now, I mean, I know we're talking about cash businesses here, but that's not the whole point of what we're talking today. Is how does because there's really not a lot of cash around anyway. Most businesses, at least online,
how do you extract maximum value out of your business? So we're looking at selling is really where the wealth's made ultimately.
Correct. And if you're not going to get that, then make sure that you are getting it elsewhere. Along the journey towards the day when you close it down.
Yeah. Now, if people do want to learn more about these steps that I guess you've kind of put together or Should we do another?
Yeah. What's that?
See what it's called.
Yeah, happy to
15
take
minutes.
questions. I wrote it a while ago, so I've got no idea how good it is. But yeah, happy for you to give the web address. Maybe we can just put it on. Maybe we'll just give you the PDF. You can just,
Yeah, if anyone asks anyone wants this PDF, just leave us a comment and I'll arrange for that. Or reach out directly to myself, Joss at IamJossGear.com, or I'm sure Nick would be happy for you guys to email him.
Nick at runmy.biz.
Yeah, there we go.
And what else? Does that cover sort of everything in terms of?
I think it's a.
Yeah, you know what? Let's talk about what are you looking to do in terms of, let's say, if you were to sell your agency.
I think we'll probably cut it there for this episode. But guys, if you have any questions, do you want to just drop us a comment? And we'll try to cover the next podcast.
Cool. All right. Thank you. And bye for now.
See you guys.